Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's October 18th, 2021. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day. And Matt, we got to make the news of the day launch here, talking about the news of the weekend, obviously, and another loss for the Canes in dramatic fashion. And, you know, the thing that I brought home with me from Chapel Hill is that there's going to be an instinct to focus on the drama because of the way that the game ended, the way the Virginia game ended. But what's going on with Hurricane football right now is really complicated and way bigger than the drama of late endings. I mean, most of these ACC games are going to go down to the wire. These are all average teams playing each other. I think you saw that on Saturday up there in Chapel Hill. And the important thing to me for the University of Miami is keep your eye on the prize. Stay focused on the big picture. Don't get caught up in the ups and downs of these individual games and individual moments within the games. Stay focused on the big picture and ask yourself a simple question. Is this program close to competing at the upper levels of college football? And if the answer is no, what do we need to do now to change that? Not a year from now, not 2 years from now. Because what they're learning, which is what's always been the case, Matt, is that when you make mistakes and you don't run your program properly, you're going to be paying for it years into the future. And right now, what Miami's doing is it sits at 2-4 on the heels of the last 2 seasons. A couple breaks last year resulted in 8-3, but then, of course, you know what happened at the end. Miami's paying forward for what happened when Mark Richt retired. And every year that goes by, in my opinion, just continues to move that forward. And, you know, I think what we're seeing is that they've hit a stop sign, and they just can't move forward with things operating the way they are right now. And we're seeing other schools around the country starting to be proactive in making changes, and Miami so far has not said that they're doing anything, at least in public. So to me, Matt, the theme of this week for the University of Miami is don't get caught up in the emotions. Keep an eye on the big picture.
I mean, you mentioned the big picture, but like, you know, I always like to talk about mirages, you know, like that the first 10 wins of the Rick season was a mirage, you know. You could sort of see it during the mirage, you know, like you're trudging through that hurricane desert and you could keep seeing the water and you knew you weren't getting there. Like they were beating teams that were pretty average. And like you just mentioned, like last year, what were they, 8-3 or whatever, but like, you know, they lost those last 2 games and you saw that coming, like, you know, a 3-point win against NC State, a 1-point win against Virginia Tech back-to-back. I mean, those basically could have been losses in the last plays instead of victories in the last plays. And, you know, this year, these last 2 games could have been victories instead of losses. Like it's just
it evens out.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So it's just like you're sort of just there. You know, Miami's just sort of there. And you mentioned like keep an eye on the big picture and like, you know, what can you fix? I mean, what can be done to get it right? And the obvious answer is recruiting. And when you look at recruiting right now, it's dead because nobody knows if Manny Diaz is going to be retained. Like Blake James may as well just tell everybody right now, we're giving Manny Diaz a 5-year extension or we're firing Manny Diaz, because with this limbo, recruiting is never going to recover. The recruits that like Manny Diaz and want stability will come if he has a 5-year contract. The recruits that want a new coach, you know, someone was mentioning on the message board yesterday, like, well, FSU killed it in recruiting when they were struggling. And my response is, well, I don't know if you're being tongue-in-cheek, but like, of course you're killing in recruiting, because when you change coaches, it's one of the few times in college football where a recruit knows that guy's going to get at least 3 or 4 years before they fire him, you know? Because if you go to a program where they have a great coach, he could go to the next program, you know? And if you have a program that's struggling or the guy's been there 3 or 4 years and they're just average, you know, you don't know if the guy's going to be there for your 4 or 5 years. When they fire a coach, like, that guy's going to be there for a while. So recruiting isn't just about the program. Like, I think a lot of coaches advise kids pick the program, not the coach. The coach won't be there, but they're kids. They know the coaches. That's who's recruited them for 3 or 4 years. These are the guys who are telling them, "You'll play for me, man. I love you. You're great." The program's not telling the kid that. The brick and mortar's not telling the kid that. So, like, Blake James needs to decide. Are you getting rid of Manny, or are you giving him a 5-year extension? Because that's the only thing that, when you talk about big picture, you got to pick.
Or the university has to take it out of his hands.
Well, whatever it is, I think Blake James,
which I think is a live option.
Right, but my point is, you got to go one way or the other. You can't just say, okay, we'll keep Manny for another year. Recruiting will never recover like that. That's not an answer. Like, we'll keep him and see how it goes. Recruiting will be dead, and that's the only way to fix the program. So I hope Miami administrators, whoever these people are, who care more about the classroom probably than sports, some of them, like those that are passionate about sports and football, they better get the message to these people. Like, no, you can't just see if it's better next year, because you're setting the program back 2 to 4 years when you kill recruiting like this.
I think it's transitioning at the University of Miami. I think that the president now understands better than he has at any point since he took the job the importance of athletics and football to the university and to the community. He's not a sports guy. He made no secret when he came to Miami that he wasn't a sports guy. He told Blake James that you're in charge of athletics. I'm not micromanaging you. But I think by now he understands that this has not been working out, and they have a big problem now. And they have a financial problem. They have an image problem. They have a functionality problem in the football program. And when you lose 6 straight Power 5 games and really are non-competitive against anybody that's really at the top of the game, I think, if you're the University of Miami, that's a problem if you have any standards whatsoever like what you should have. So these next, I think, 4, 5, 6 weeks are a very critical time. And, like I said at the top of this show, as somebody who's sit here and watched this for so many years, I cannot urge the brain trust of the university enough to separate from the emotions of these individual games and look at the big picture and ask yourself this question. Is the University of Miami relevant in the landscape of college football? And if the answer is no, which it is, what do we need to do to get back to being like that? Because that is what we're capable of. That is what we owe our community. And that is what we owe our fans, our boosters, our student body, and everybody that cares about the University of Miami. And it's really that simple. And they don't have anybody at the university right now that can pave the way. So they're going to have to find somebody or a group of people that they can bring into the equation that just bring a different viewpoint. And it doesn't even have to be an athletic viewpoint. It could be a business viewpoint. Somebody that understands how you run a successful business, because that's what ultimately an athletic department and football program is, a successful business. And what we're seeing the last few years is that the job and the demands of the job may have outgrown the person that's in the athletic director office right now, because in the last few years, unfortunately, Blake is showing no signs that he's the guy that is going to direct this program to anything better than what we're seeing right now. And, I don't think that they can continue going on like this. And, it's been a theme of ours now for a while. We saw this a couple years ago, and I still maintain that after that first season, listen, we were talking about it. We knew this was going to be a problem the minute Blake did what he did. But when they went 6-7 year one, Matt, it was they were beaten over the head with it. Like this is a disaster. When you're going 6-7, you're losing to FIU and Louisiana Tech at the end of the year and all that. You have a disaster on your hands. Kids walking out of the hotel on the night before games, and the disciplinary issues and the culture issues. They were beaten over the head with it, and they should have said, "Whoa, we made a mistake." Then they're paying for that now as the team starts out 2-4, and so many issues involved here. I'm not going to go on and on here right now. We'll be talking about them in the days and weeks ahead. But the bottom line, Matt, as we sit here this morning, is it's not about the drama of the last minute of these games. These games were lost because in the first quarter of both games, you got absolutely like sliced and diced up from a schematic standpoint by the other coaching staff. 151-10 in total yardage against Virginia. I think it was like 170-12 against North Carolina yesterday. That's when teams are rolling out their game plans, and then you have to make adjustments to them and try to recover. But Miami is just getting destroyed in the first quarters of these ball games going into the second quarters. And that leads back to Manny, unfortunately. I mean, it's the head coach's job to bring his team to the stadium with an edge. And that's what a head coach is supposed to do. And they're not showing up with an edge. And God bless these kids. You know, you want to be an ambassador for these kids, the way they're hanging in there and competing and fighting back in these games. And you are seeing glimpses that there's talent on the roster, Matt. But there's just they're having to climb such huge mountains every week now.
I mean, I'll take issue with a couple of things. First of all, you say, you know, the end of these games didn't really matter. I mean, if Miami was 4-2 and 2-0 in the ACC, I think Miami fans would actually be like okay with that, you know. So like if they had won these last two games and they had played so great in the second half and battled and came back from all the adversity and all the odds, I think Miami fans would actually be like, maybe Manny Diaz has figured it out, you know. And then if they beat NC State, I mean, Manny Diaz would be rolling, you know. It's like a little weird sometimes how this one play can really affect, you know, how people view things. And that's why I'm saying like the mirage, like last year it was a mirage. And this year, you know, is it as bad as people think? I mean, you know, probably not. We've been saying it's not a real good team. We've been saying it since fall practice started. You know, it's an okay team, nothing great. And that's what we've seen. Like, I don't think we've seen anything where it's been like, oh my God, it's so much worse than we thought. Like, this is college football for the mediocre, you know.
But it is. Let's be honest, they weren't competitive against Bama, and they also were one play away from losing to Appalachian State.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I mean, this is, like I said, it's football for the mediocre. This is what happens when you're mediocre. We're saying all fall this is a mediocre team. You know, defense was going to be bad. It's not good. The offense is worse than we thought it would be. But, you know, the opponents are all pretty mediocre, you know, other than Alabama. And, you know, look, I mean, there's you can say they're not prepared going into the game, but like that, to me, you can say it's on the coaches, whatever. But just the fact that literally the players and coaches to a person asked after the game on Saturday, you know, what adjustments did you make at halftime? They came up so much better in the second half. To a person, they said, we didn't make any adjustments. We just played better. Like, that means to me, it's not on the coaches. Like, the players showed up with the same game plan they dominated with in the second half. And they just came out and were something wrong with these guys mentally. I mean, they just weren't all there. Like Tyler Van Dyke throwing passes over guys' heads that are wide open, at their feet that are wide open. And then all of a sudden, the second half is a lot better. You know, defense all of a sudden can stop the run in the second half. You know, like, again, they didn't do anything different. The players just came in with maybe the mindset that this is too big for us. I don't know. Like, maybe get them some shrinks, but like, you're blaming the coaches and they were out schemed.
No, I'm blaming everybody. But I'm not going to sit here and blame the kids. I'll tell you that. I'm not going to blame the kids. I'm looking at the effort that they played with. Those kids are going through hell. I was. Who
do you blame? Who do you blame if it's the exact same game plan and it works in one half and not in the other? Whose fault is that?
I don't believe it was the exact same game plan.
They all said it was. They said there was no adjustments. We just played better. Yeah, you think they're lying, every one of them?
I'm not buying it. Because you know, it looked
you're wrong, because there's nothing a coach wants to do more than take credit for, oh, we saw this and we made this huge adjustment and look what happened. Coaches love to do that. They didn't. They literally said there was no adjustments. That it behooves them to say, yeah, you know, we're great coaches. Look what we did and it really worked. But they're like, no, you know, we really didn't do anything. Like that.
I think by saying we didn't do anything, I don't know. It looked different to me. Now maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but the way that things were going in the second half looked distinctly different. And look at the great disparity. I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but look at the disparity between the two halves and the yardage numbers. And Miami was totally dominant in the second half of that game. Now, maybe North Carolina went to sleep a little bit, no argument, but like there was no comparison. I mean, they had to be doing some things differently. It can't just be as simple as, oh, we executed a little bit better. I mean, but look, I mean, we could go back and forth on all that, and why and what and why people say things they say or don't say other things. But the bottom line is, to me, the big picture of the program. Do you want to continue doing business like this? I mean, this has been going on for years and years and years. It's like, if I'm running this, I don't want to keep conducting business like this. I want to get this thing straightened out and kick ass. You know, it's like, I have no doubt in my mind that Miami can still be Miami. Miami could be. Look at how competitive Miami is, even in the current state. And you know, as we tie this into Good Morning CaneSport, we are doing an extensive evaluation of the program at midseason, starting today, all through the week. And today we take a look at the offense, and we're also ranking the top 20 players on the team, 1 through 20, and we'll be counting them down as the week goes on. But we can tell you that as we went through that exercise, that top 20 list is not real deep. Okay, there is not a lot of elite talent on this football team, and yet, like Matt just said, they could still be 4-2 right now, very easily, with hardly any elite talent, without a difference-making roster. That is the opportunity that is here for University of Miami football. If you could just get better, you're going to be one of the top teams in the country every single year. And so, to me, the question is, can they keep doing business like they're doing it right now and get better? Matt, I don't believe they can.
I mean, something has to change. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you could just keep being mediocre and try to scrape out 2 and 3 point wins. I don't think that's what anybody wants. You know, that's where they're at. That's where they're going to be the way they're going right now. I mean, I am, you know, very impressed by the freshman class. Like, that's why I say they need recruiting. Like, if they can just stack on a couple more recruiting classes, like, I'm a big believer that talent will trump average coaching. Like, if you're a great player, I don't care what system you're in, you're going to dominate, you know? Like, if you're that much better than the other people. And by the way, I'm wearing a gator, but this is actually a crocodile, just so people are aware. I'm not a gator fan. I just wear a lot of Lacoste shirts in case somebody notices that and starts ripping me. It's not a gator, it's a crocodile, okay? You can look it up. But yeah, so I lost my train of thought. But you know, look, to me, big picture, they're an average team with very good young players. And if you don't keep adding more and more young players and you start going to the portal to fill these gaps, which like they're, you know, we have a story this morning on the Syracuse kid who's taking an official visit, who's a 3-star. And look, I love the kid. I talked to him for a while, super nice kid. But, you know, he wasn't highly recruited. He didn't do anything since he signed with Syracuse to make people say, oh, now he's really good, you know. Coastal Carolina is the other team that's super interested in him. So, like, you know, this is where they're sort of at. You know, they put all their eggs in the Jaleel Skinner basket, didn't get him. And, you know, now what do? You know, it's sort of reactionary. And they're in this reactionary phase where kids aren't coming to them. They're trying to get kids. And you really want a program where kids want to be part of your program, you know, where they're like reaching out to you all across the country, like, hey, I want to, you know, look at my film. I want an offer from you, you know, like that's how it used to be. And now it's like, they're just offering kids who, you know, literally I talk to these kids who get offers and I'm like, so what do you know about Miami's program? And they're like, nothing really. I guess I got to learn more. Like, the kids say that about Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State. Like, I don't think so. Like, Miami has to get back to that level. And this is, you know, I think people were critical of me before for saying this, but like, these kids don't remember Miami being good. Like, it was sort of a confused statement, I guess I made about how, like, you know, Alabama, the recruits know that they're good. So, you know, like, that's the school they know and they want to go to. But like, Miami right now doesn't have that cachet whatsoever. And the only way to get that back, which is what I was trying to say in a previous Good Morning, do we call this a podcast or Rip Matt Shodell and Rip Gary Ferman episode? I don't know which it is. But I'll go with podcast for now. But like, if they're going to get top kids in this program, they need to win. But to win, you need top kids. So it's like a catch-22. You're chicken and the egg. Like, how do you do that?
Well, this is what happens when you run the business the way it's being run, and now we're back to the same thing all over again. And I applauded the entire offseason, they were reaching higher in recruiting. They were trying to, get in with more elite prospects. But now, because of the way the season's going, those are falling by the wayside one by one. And now they're back to the same thing, filling the recruiting class with average players that not very many people want. And you're just prolonging the problem. You're taking the problem down the road. And, listen, we have a story this morning on an offensive lineman from Georgia, Tyler Williams, a nice kid, not really being recruited by anybody, but now being heavily recruited by Garin Justice. And Miami's his only Power 5 offer. I mean, this is, and he's being pressed to commit as soon as possible. This is where Miami recruiting is right now. To me, it's a problem. And I think it's a problem that could work itself out in the next 6 weeks if things are done the way they should be done. But it's a major issue for this program. And again, I can't urge the administration of the university enough. Be honest about what's going on. Don't be in denial. It is real. There's dramatic moments. Every game goes down to the wire. You win some, you lose some. But you have an opportunity right now. I believe they have an opportunity to try to change things, and it can happen very functionally and very quickly if they summon the will to do it. It's going to cost them money. They're going to have a plan. They're going to have to invest in their football program, unlike they ever have before. The annual operating budgets are going to need to go up a little bit so that business can be done better, and that elite level human beings can be recruited to work at the University of Miami. But they have to make a decision, and it's coming. They're on the clock. And the president said some of the right things in that letter he sent out a couple of weeks ago. Well, now they have to act on it. And it's not, I don't think the problem's going to go anywhere. All right. So we talked about that. We're doing a lot of grading this week, a lot of breakdowns. Well, as we count down the top 20, like I said, pay close attention to the fact that there's not a lot of elite talent on the team right now, because that is a real issue, in my opinion. If you don't have elite talent, you have a hard time separating from anybody. And that's why you see it all throughout college football. I mean, there are so many close games. You win some, you lose some. As a fan, you'll sit there and say, oh man, Oregon has no business being in tight games with Stanford and Cal. Well, yeah, they do have a business being in tight games with Stanford and Cal, because if they're not quite good enough in every area, they're going to be in close games, because all these teams are all capable. Even in the ACC, maybe Duke is down right now. Every other team in the ACC is very capable of putting a good game together and beating anybody. And you're seeing what Clemson's going through this year. Pittsburgh has now suddenly risen to the top of the Coastal. But I mean, this is a wide open conference. I mean, almost every team in the conference can beat each other. And that's how it is throughout college football. So if you're a team, even if you're a top 10 team, and you have a little warts, like, maybe your quarterback's not as good as he needs to be. Maybe you had some key injuries that have weakened you a little bit, things like that. You're going to see upsets. And we're seeing top 5, top 10 upsets every single week in college football. Pay close attention to that as you look at our grading features as the week goes forward. And again, we start today with the offense, then we'll come back with the defense, and we have the top 20 rankings. Other things on the website today. We talked about the tight end from Syracuse, mentioned briefly. He was recruited by Syracuse to be a receiving tight end in his mind. Name is Landon Morris, and showed up at Syracuse and was a bit dismayed that all they wanted to do was use him as a blocker. So he bolted and went right to the transfer portal. Miami's talking to him now. Steve Fields on that case. We talked to him this morning and give you an update on where that's going. We think Miami has a great shot there. If you didn't get a chance to catch all our coverage all over the weekend, obviously we had a lot of game coverage from the North Carolina game. We also brought you our weekly By the Numbers feature, which shows you the grades and snap counts from the North Carolina game. So urge you to look at that. So that's going to do it for today. It'll be a theme that you hear us discussing a lot more on this show and others. It's about a 6-week countdown now. And, Matt, actually, before we go, I wanted to touch on one other thing that was a real hot button on the website this weekend. This whole concept that the university has to fire Manny Diaz right now if they're going to make a change. And I know we've seen USC do it. We've seen LSU do it. I don't believe they have to fire Manny right now. I think right now is a time to get their ducks in a row, make their plans, let Manny finish the season. You're not hiring a coach now anyway. All the coaches are working and tied up with their schools and things like that. And then be ready at the end of November to hit the ground running. Your thoughts on that issue?
I mean, look, football-wise, operation-wise, even recruiting-wise, there's not a big benefit to firing a head coach when you're not naming a new head coach before December. The reason why, the argument can be made Miami should do it is really to pacify a fan base, because if things keep going south, they're not just going to want to take Manny Diaz down. They're going to want to take Blake James down. They're going to be so fed up with this program. The money, that maybe gets donated isn't donated. People will be so fed up that, I know you might name a new coach at some point, but they might be so fed up to the point, I'm never renewing my season tickets. I'm never donating money again. They get so upset that you're keeping this coach who you're sick and tired of, sort of watching this team lose games under. That's the danger. So, it's a slippery slope, right? I mean, honestly, there's no reason. Look, I like Manny as a person. I think he's a great guy. We all wanted it to work out for him, although we had many warning signs it was not going to work out. And as of now, it appears it's not working out. You can keep him, even though, it certainly seems from our vantage point it's not going to work out long term with him as the head coach. You can keep him and find a replacement after the season, sure. Or you can keep him, maybe the end of the year goes well, and you keep him for another year. But again, I think that really hurts your recruiting efforts, which really is the future of the program.
But if you don't have a coach, you're not going to recruit anyway, right?
Correct. But
so an interim coach isn't going to recruit any better than Manny.
It does nothing for recruiting in the short term. What I'm saying is, if they keep Manny for another year, it hurts recruiting. Is what I'm trying to say. Because
absolutely.
He'll just be on the hot seat for another year. No one's coming this class. No one's coming next class. It's just continuing the pain. That's what I'm trying to say. But again, I do think there's a benefit to making a coaching change mid-season like this. Simply, if once the season's over, you can't win the ACC Coastal. You may or may not get to a bowl game at this point. Who knows? But if you lose this next game and maybe even the game after that, and the season, everything's pretty much out of reach. At that point, if that actually happens, the benefit to getting rid of the coach is, again, the fans know there will be a long coaching search, because you fire Manny in December. Let's face it, you can start a coaching search before you fire a head coach, but that's usually not the way it's done. You get rid of the coach, you do a national coaching search, you hire a firm. It's it's out there that it's being done. That's the right way to do it. If you do that in December, it takes a couple of months. So now you're looking, heading into spring ball. A new coach has to get hired. He has to hire his new staff. You get the ball rolling earlier when you do this sort of thing earlier. They can identify some coaches that are on the radar, because these coaches that will want to move on after the season will be on that radar. And you have this firm that'll give you those names and get you that information, and you can sort of pounce and get a head start on the top guy you want. And then on top of that, you do pacify the fan base. So I do disagree with you. I think there is some benefit to be gleaned from getting rid of a coach earlier rather than later. But again, it's not football or operation-wise, and it's not immediate recruiting-wise, but it's in the other respects that I mentioned. To me,
I think as long as the kids are playing hard, you let Manny finish the season. And, you name an interim, there's costs associated with that. You got to give whoever you name as the interim coach a raise because they're taking on additional responsibilities. You have to pick somebody on your existing staff.
This is not about $100,000 you're giving to somebody. Give me a break. If they're making a change, it's going to be for the better of the program.
Who's your interim head coach, Matt? Seriously, who would you name interim head coach?
I mean, the obvious choices would probably be either Rhett Lashley or T-Rob. But does it really matter?
It absolutely. I think it matters. I mean,
I'm not sure that it matters.
I mean, now you're having to single out members of your staff. If Rhett Lashley's not picked, he's going to be upset. He's going to be annoyed.
The whole staff is probably going to be replaced except for a couple of key guys.
Of course. But my point is, there's no to me, there's no reason to go there. Just let Manny finish the year. They can do everything they need to do behind the scenes. They can hire a search firm, quietly and start
I
lining up.
don't know that they would do that before they fire the guy. You don't think Manny Diaz will find out they're looking for a new
Research.
coach?
You're hiring somebody to research candidates. That's all you're doing. I mean, it's a
Listen,
consulting deal.
it's almost it's not unethical, but they will find out. Like players are going to hear the whispers.
Okay, so what?
Are going to hear the whispers. It's like just do it. It's just like sticking the knife in slowly instead of just ripping off a Band-Aid.
Look at what LSU's doing. They're replacing Ed Orgeron. They're letting him finish the season.
Yeah, well, announce it then. That's all I'm saying.
If you've made the decision, announce it. But
I don't care if finish or not with this team. But yeah, I mean, announce something.
But I'm not sure they've made that decision yet. You know?
No, they haven't. What I'm saying is, you say there's no reason not to wait till the end of the season. I'm saying I think there is. That's the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any problem if they do it, but I don't think they have to do it. I think they can get to the same end place very quickly. I mean, I think they are.
Last time they got to somewhere very quickly, they hired Manny Diaz.
No, but that was like blindsided at 11 and have already made a move by 3 p.m.
Here's what happens at the end of the season when you wait till the end of the season and a ton of different programs are looking for coaches. You get squeezed. Like, oh, this is our top choice. Oh, but he has 2 other offers. Or, oh, this is our second choice. He has 3 other offers. You start doing it now, and you're sort of in that first place, that first slot for a coach. You're getting that development of that relationship.
Yeah. All right. We don't agree on this, which is great. But, I know that all this can be done behind the scenes. None of this, there's no handcuffs on the
behind the scenes. You're not pacifying the fan base either, which is the other problem I talked about. Look, I mean, I just don't. If you know you're making a change, you say you're making the change. You don't keep it a secret till December. There's no need.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I don't think they've made a firm decision on that.
They had not. What you're saying is just let them go to December.
And I think Blake James will have to have his left and right arms cut off to commit to something like that.
Well, I don't disagree, but your suggestion to wait till December and then decide, I don't think you do that. I think you got to make the decision, after these next couple of games.
I think it's obvious right now, quite frankly, and it has nothing to do with losing close games. You made a great point. A couple plays go differently. They're 4-2 instead of 2-4, but with still a half a season to play. I mean, and I don't think it really matters whether you finish 8-4, 7-5, or 6-6.
It matters to Blake James.
It might, but it doesn't matter in the big picture.
I agree. But this is the danger,
if your big picture goal is to be a nationally competitive program,
let me tell you something. This is why fans, which I've never seen in my life, we talked about this the other day. This is why fans are rooting against Miami. How do you root against the team you root for?
They don't trust the athletic director to have the right standards.
It makes no sense.
They think the whole thing has to fall apart for them to.
Okay, but this is what fans are seeing is what you just said. If they finish, with 7 wins or maybe 8 wins, nothing changes, and fans
they're scared to death that Blake will want to keep the status quo. I know.
They're not scared to death. They know he'll keep the status quo. They're not scared to death. But they know what he'll do.
I understand.
But how do you, as a fan, root against Miami? It's insane.
It's insane.
This is what Blake James has created. I mean, I'm a fan of Blake too. Look, I like Blake as a person, not necessarily as coaching.
It has nothing to do with Blake as a person.
And fans have to remember, these are people. They're super nice people. They really are. If you sat down to dinner or got a beer with these guys, you'd be like, you know what? Manny Diaz is a pretty good guy. You know what? Blake James is a pretty good guy. You wouldn't be calling for them to be fired and be all nasty.
It has nothing to do with that.
Right. So my point is, but fans see what's going to happen because these are nice guys. And I've talked about this. The best coaches are the biggest, I can't say the word, I guess, I don't know if this is a G-rated or R-rated event, but the biggest, we'll say jerks in the world. I've covered a lot of coaches at Miami, and I've had a lot of opposing coaches that I know about from other reporters. And the biggest jerks are the best coaches. And Manny Diaz is a super nice guy. Larry Coker was a super nice guy. Blake James is a super nice guy. For some reason, nice guys in sports, they don't seem to go hand in hand. I don't understand why. But this is just where we're at, and it's sad because these are nice guys, and they're trying to do their best.
You got to be a true. You got to be
anybody.
I used this word the other day on Twitter, Matt.
In the last game, and it's just a shame. It's just
you got to be a trained assassin in this business. You gotta just be willing to you gotta be you gotta be. I mean, I don't want to curse or anything, but I'm telling you, this business is tough. And you got to be tough as nails, and you got to be competitive as hell, and you got to live every minute of your day, 365 days a year, for the purpose of winning. And the guys that are capable of doing that are the ones that are at the top of the game right now. But as you talk about the fans, I mean, I'm in North Carolina this weekend. I mean, normally there'd be 4, 5, 6,000 Miami fans up there. Maybe there were 100 on Saturday. I mean, that's depressing, man. It's like
Blake James's family.
Huh?
That was all Blake James's family.
He had a contingent. Well, yeah, he did have a contingent. They were taking pictures and everything before the game and all that.
Right there.
But like, it's sad. I memean, because literally, like, the passion and the joy of being a Miami Hurricane fan has been stripped from these people, and they showed up in an army in Atlanta. The Canes Nation has never been better represented than that, and the Canes weren't even competitive, like not even in the same stratosphere of competing in that game. And they are not doing it anymore. They're not spending their money. They were on the nonstop flights from South Florida back and forth. I was on them. There were maybe 3 or 4 fans. I mean, normally the plane would be packed. When I flew to Atlanta for the Alabama game, plane was packed with Miami fans. The boosters aren't coming to the games anymore. The Dan Lamberts of the world, the Carol Sofers of the world. You don't see anybody at these games anymore.
I mean, Blake James normally, I think, watches games with boosters, and from what I heard, he's not even watching games with boosters anymore because they're all just like out to get him. It's like
all out to get him. Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody was in the athletic director's box yesterday in North Carolina, other than Blake and Jen, and I don't know that anybody else was in there. The president doesn't come to games. Like I said, the top boosters of the program aren't going to the games. This is a disaster. Okay, it is a disaster, and I apologize to anybody that's offended by my strongness on this. I mean, the time is now. Julio Frank, Board of Trustees, administrators of the University of Miami. The time is now to say enough is enough, and we are going to get this thing straightened out. And the path forward is not real complicated, man. You got to get some people in the building that know what it's supposed to look like. And whether it's the athletic director, people working under the athletic director, the head coach, and you have to listen to them. And you have to invest more money in this program. And that's all you can do. If that doesn't work, okay, well, then it's just not going to happen. But you got to elevate the level of expertise in the building at the University of Miami. All right, that's enough for today, Matt. We've gone on and on for 37 minutes. My fault.
You're not gonna plug your new site, Gary Ferman for athletic director at Miami.com?
Dude, listen. I don't want to be athletic director. I'll tell you what I would love. I want a 1-week consulting contract with a guarantee. I will straighten this thing out so quickly.
Hey, you know what I want? I want Blake James to start doing my job for a week and see how hard it is writing about this program.
How about this? Maybe do you think we can do a swap? Maybe Blake.
I would love that.
How about if Blake comes and does Good Morning CaneSport for a week, and he can maybe bring Jen with him or whatever, and then and we'll go on the other side. And I promise you that I will get this thing straightened out to where at least there's a chance. I'm not going to. You can't. Nobody's going to be able to guarantee that any move made is a 100% lock. I know one thing. I'd get a couple trained assassins in that building that'll walk in there at 6 a.m. every single day and hold everybody accountable and operate at a standard and make clear what that standard is and live and die to make it come to reality.
Listen, I have the solution right now. My first act as what would my job be? Would I be the associate athletic director?
Okay, fine. Yeah, listen. Yeah, right. Whatever you want.
So my first act as the associate athletic director would be getting breakfast sandwiches from Madruga Bakery across the street for every Miami Hurricanes player, because that will keep them so juiced for the entire day. They will have so much energy from that breakfast sandwich. And if you guys haven't had Madruga Bakery's breakfast sandwich, I'm not a paid promoter, but it's the best freaking thing you've ever had in your life. Right across the street from UM. I mean, bacon like this big, crispy bacon, egg, this amazing homemade bread. We go my wife and I go every weekend. It's amazing. But yeah, that would be my first act. Stock up on Madruga Bakery for the kids.
Maybe pizzas from Big Cheese, like post-practice snack pizzas from Big Cheese.
Yeah, that's their official. Look, I grew up in New York. I'm a New York pizza guy, so I really don't eat the pizza down here. I hate sorry, Big Cheese. but like I have not found anything close to New York pizza down here. Honestly, there's one place in the Grove that used to have really close to it, but it of course it closed down because it was too good apparently.
I'll tell you, you know what the players would love? There's this little place up the street in South Miami called Cracked by Chef Adrian. They make the most amazing steak sandwich in that place. It's like made from filet mignon. It is unbelievable. We could order.
That'll be lunch.
We could do lunch. We could do 100 of them for lunch. The players would go insane. They are.
We're going to figure out dinner. I don't know what we'll do for dinner.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, maybe, you know what? I don't know. I mean, maybe Joe's stone crabs, or maybe you know what? I've been getting. We had our first stone crab trap pull. Did really well.
Yeah. Did you get enough to feed the team?
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. So that's what every day I'll have to go out and get these traps for everybody. But yeah, we went out Saturday morning before the game. Usually it's a prognosticator for how the game goes. If you do well with the stone crabs, usually the game goes pretty well for Miami. But for some reason, the crabs were really good and the game was not. So
how about this?
It's like Groundhog's Day. It's like usually it works, but sometimes it doesn't.
How about this? Since we'll have a week to figure it all out, what do you think about this? How about if we tell the head coach that you will get an unlimited during stone crab season, you will have an unlimited supply of stone crabs delivered to your office.
They will. Anybody would come for that.
Yeah, stone crabs for the coaching staff. How about that?
100%. Oh my God.
They don't even have to go to Joe's.
Yeah.
What about the mustard sauce? What do you do for the mustard sauce?
Hey, send an email to Mario. Let him know. That's the offer.
Yeah.
What do I do for the mustard sauce?
Yeah.
Do you really want to know? It's not complicated. All I do, and it's like really delicious. It sounds crazy, but I do Dijon mustard, not like that country weird mustard, but like the actual smooth Dijon mustard and mayonnaise. I think
you just mix it up.
Or Saturday was Kraft mayonnaise. Yeah, and it's like a 2/3 mayo to 1/3 mustard ratio, and you just mix it up real smooth, stick it in the fridge, get it nice and cold, and look, I'm never going to say it's as good as Joe's, but it's really good.
You know, Heinz created a product like that my wife started buying, and they took it off the market. Huh. I mean, I don't understand why. It was great.
Maybe they got sued.
Mixing mayo and mustard, folks, is incredible. Try it sometime. All right, that's it. We're done. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for Good Morning CaneSport today. We'll be back tomorrow morning, I'm sure, with much more to talk about. Enjoy everything on the website today. Pay close attention this week to the ranking of players, 20 down to 1, and take a look at how little proven elite talent there is on this team.
Hey, you better cut that last 20 minutes, because I don't want people going to Madruga Saturday mornings and like me having to like wait in line and stuff like that. So,
too late. It's that's done.
Oh, great! I got to find another breakfast place now.
All right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.